Record that was just set last year. Remember last year we had a very hot summer, numerous days in the upper 90s, even more days where we spent in the triple digits. Well, today we did sneak up to 98 degrees, breaking the old record of 97, and we are expecting another very hot day tomorrow. Could be near 100 degrees, and really I don't foresee this pattern breaking down. There may be some fluctuations in our high temperatures, but really continuing through most of next week. We will have another heat advisory in place for much of the day tomorrow, with heat indices reaching near 112. And in fact, at times we surpassed those values today because the humidity was a bit higher. Temperatures mid, some upper 90s, but the humidity, dew points yesterday were more lower 70s, not exactly good feel air, but it does prevent those heat indices from getting as high. But the difference today, we saw the dew points get back into the more mid upper 70s and low 80s, and so it's at heat indices well above 112 at a number of locations. Mostly sunny skies. Still feels like 112 right now with a temperature of 97. Everybody's air conditioner is struggling. Normally this time of year, early August, we should only be in the lower 90s, and we are surpassing that. And as said, I think we're going to surpass that for at least the next 7 days. Maybe some changes toward the end of next week. Not really much in the way of any cloudiness around, and this has been the pattern underneath this upper high, where we have a little bit of upper troughing is helping to drag what is left of Debbie, now a depression, across the Carolinas and further up the East Coast. But this high pressure system is going to remain in place and actually could strengthen a bit, dominating all of the southern United States from basically the west to the East Coast into the weekend, and really no signs of this breaking down. There are some indications, maybe a little weak disturbance kind of rotating around for this weekend, maybe bringing us a few isolated showers, but rain chances this weekend 10 and 20% the way the models are looking right now, so not much at all. Then the high kind of builds back in, and we don't really see this pattern change until we finally, after Thursday to Friday, kind of the longer range guidance does have some upper troughing, which may help to weaken the upper high and allow us to see maybe temperatures getting a little closer to normal. But that's not happening in the next 7 days, so we will generally stay mid upper 90s, maybe at some point even hitting a triple digit reading. And this graphic we've been showing you a number of times during the summer, kind of all-encompassing the heat, the humidity, the duration of such temperatures, calling for heat risk, which will remain on the major to even extreme levels through much of the weekend and continuing into early next week. The heat will be our main focus going forward. Here's a look at the tropics. This is Tropical Depression Debbie. It did make a second landfall in South Carolina. Now well inland, it is weakening, still does have that flooding threat inland. That's really the more primary threat, will be kind of along the Appalachians, farther north into the East Coast, but actually staying away from the coastline. The greatest rainfall threat will be a little bit closer to the center, so that should stay away from a lot of the major cities along the eastern seaboard, but it will continue to plague even up toward New England and eventually up toward the Canadian Maritimes by this weekend, eventually fizzling out. The only other area that we're watching right now is still well in the central Atlantic. This is kind of a timeline of when we could see some development as it gets a little bit closer to the islands late this weekend and then into early to mid next week. Right now, the models take this system, which is not yet organized, so you kind of take the models at this early stage with a grain of salt, but it does maintain that this system should turn well before nearing the U.S. East Coast. And so as the models kind of a decent agreement as it approaches the Lesser Antilles by Tuesday or so, Greater Antilles on into mid to late in the week, but turning well away from the East Coast. In fact, while the model guidance spread is a little bit all over the place, all of the models as of right now would keep this out of the Gulf. Again, clearly the early stages, but at least promising in the early stages. 99 our high tomorrow, and then we'll stay in the mid upper 90s. Not really much of a temperature change as we continue through next week, and also not much in the way of any cooling showers.